Money is one of the most important parts of a person's life, and yet it causes the most amount of anxiety. How many people are stressing? How many people are having difficulty making ends meet? What we're about to do, we're about to go on an adventure. I'm going to give you tranquility, I'm going to give you abundance, and I'm going to give you finally peace of mind that you've been looking for around your money. And the answer is not down here, the answer is above. And this is not fluff, and this is not something to make you feel good, and this is not some magic fairy dust. This is the real brass tacks business when it comes to your money. Why? Because God is the one that created money in the first place. So when you understand how He looks at money, you could position yourself in the same way. So with all that being said, let's jump right in and let's start. This book is called Shar HaBitachon, which means the gate in trusting in God, specifically, by the way, when it comes to your money. And the way the author starts out the book, he begins to discuss what are the benefits in trusting in God when it comes to your finances. So let's jump right in. The number one thing that a person will gain once they start trusting in God for their finances is tranquility. How many of us are walking around in a daze? How many of us are walking around with anxiety, with stress, with fear around our finances? When a person solidifies their trust in God, and what you're going to do is you're going to start doing that with me as we start going through this book. You're solidifying your trust in God will lead you to tranquility. And you're going to free yourself from worrying. Worry is something that could kill a person. How many diseases come from worry? How many sickness comes from worry? We're going to eliminate all the worry when it comes to your finances. So tranquility of the soul is something that you will gain once you rely on God for your finances. He gives an example in this book of a person who is sitting in a jail cell, and there's a window where all of his food comes every day. 3 times a day, he expects his meal to come from his master as he's sitting in his jail cell. And the book says the way that we should look at God is the same way that the person that's sitting in jail looks at that little square in the wall where he gets his finances from. You should understand that your money is coming from one place and one place only, and that is God. When you understand that it doesn't come from any other factors or any other outside parties, you start to gain this tranquility of soul. Why? Because you understand that your finances are coming from one place and not a million different factors. The book goes on to explain that if you see your money, your finances coming from somewhere outside of God, and you see other things able to give you your livelihood that are not God, what He will do, what God will do, is He's going to remove His divine providence from you, and He's going to allow you to actually get your sustenance from those other things. The problem is those other things are not powerful enough to sustain a human being. So God says to a person, you trust in other factors besides me? Great. Let those factors take care of you. And that's when the person starts to get in trouble. Why? Because he removes God's divine providence from him, and he opens himself up to being at the whims of the universe, the world, the market, the economy, his boss, whatever it is that you want to call it, and God removes His divine providence from him, and that's what we want to stay away from. An example of this was when the Jewish people, when they were taken out of Egypt, and when they were given the commandments and the Torah from Mount Sinai, what did Moses find when he came down from the mountain? He found that they were worshiping the golden calf. This upset God tremendously. So when we think that our sustenance is coming from something other than God, it is the equivalent of the Jews serving the golden calf at the foot of Mount Sinai. You don't want to do that. Why? Because God says, great, you want this golden calf to take care of you? Let it take care of you. I am removing my providence from you. You want to stay away from that. You want to stay within God's providence. You want to stay within His protective bubble of His sustenance. Another place where people make a mistake when it comes to their sustenance, they believe that it is based on their own ingenuity, it's based on their own strength, it's based on their own smarts. This is another place where people start to get in trouble. Why? Because God says, great, you think that your own strength is going to give you your sustenance. You think your own intellect is going to give you your sustenance. I'm going to remove my divine providence, and I'll let you, your own strength and your own ingenuity, let that provide you sustenance. And what will happen in that case, it says that that person will actually become weak. He'll lose his strength of his mind. He'll lose his strength of his body. Why would God do such a thing? Because God is the one that gives you your intellect in your first place. God is the one who gives you your physical strength in your first place. So imagine you're relying on your own intellect. You're relying on your own physicality. You're relying on your own powers. God says, I'm the one who gives you the powers in the first place. You're going to rely on those things. I'm going to take those things away from you and to show you that I've been the one that's giving you that power, that strength, that intellect, that smarts this entire time. Another place where people make a mistake is they see the money that they currently have and they say, I'm going to rely on the money that I already have to provide for me my daily needs, and that's going to give me what I need in order to survive, in order to live. The problem with this is you're relying on your wealth to provide you sustenance. Well, guess what? God is going to take that away from you. It's going to happen by a bankruptcy. It's going to happen by a market collapse. It's going to happen by your business collapsing. It's going to happen by a divorce and your spouse taking half of your wealth away from you, or whatever it might be. The whole theme here is that God wants to be the one that is providing you your sustenance anytime that you allow or anytime that you want your sustenance to come from a place other than God. You're removing his divine providence from you and you want to stay away from that. And even if God doesn't take your wealth away from you, he's going to remove your ability to enjoy it. God could bring about a person's sickness. God could bring about a person calamity. And just because a person has money in his bank, it does not equal tranquility. Another way that a person makes a mistake by relying on his own money is that his money might actually be the very thing that destroys him. How many people have we seen that have won the lottery and they went from being an absolute poor person who had $0 in their bank account to having $40 million cash, and we see that their life around them falls apart? So just because a person has money does not mean he's going to achieve that tranquility. Money does not equal calmness. It does not equal calmness of mind. Money alone doesn't equate to those things. So the money itself might be the very thing that destroys him. How many wealthy parents do we see that their children are completely messed up, whether it's on drugs, whether it's feeling like they're entitled? Money is not the thing that will cause him ultimate joy and happiness and tranquility. The money actually might be the thing that destroys him if he doesn't temper it with trusting in the one above. Now, you might be saying to yourself, up until now, I have not trusted in God and I've seen success. Well, the good book says that maybe up until now, you have experienced success without tempering it with trusting in God, but ultimately your success will not last. Anything that is not built on a true foundation, and the only truth is the one above. Okay, he's the one who brought the world into creation. He's the one that sustains the creation at every single moment and every single part of existence. If you have achieved success on your own up until now, it says that you will not be able to achieve that success for always if it's not tempered with trusting in the one above. Probably one of the most powerful benefits to trusting in God when it comes to your finances is your ability to be independent. It says that a person who thinks that his livelihood, his sustenance comes from other people will always need to flatter everybody, will always need to depend on everybody. He'll always be afraid of offending another person. Why? Because he believes that his sustenance, his money, his finances comes from other people. If you understand that your sustenance comes from God and God alone, you will not be subservient to other people. You won't have to flatter them. You won't have to spend time with bad people. How many times, by the way, how many times have we seen people go to jail because they felt that they had to be in crooked businesses and they had to hang out with criminals because they believed that their money came from those people? If you understand that your sustenance comes from God, you will not have to hang around bad people to make your money. You won't have to hang around toxic relationships. How many people out there have horrific bosses? How many people out there have horrific clients that you feel that you have to flatter constantly because you believe your sustenance comes from them? Once you understand that your sustenance comes from God, you won't have to flatter these people anymore. You won't have to hang around these people anymore, and you won't have to be at their whims anymore. These are just some of the benefits that come along with trusting in God. So I invite you to join me in the rest of this journey. I'm going to be putting out these videos on a weekly, regular basis. I want you to join me. It's going to be an amazing adventure. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, you're going to love the one that's coming up next.